What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today we're going to talk about some more position competition. This time, going to talk about the wide receivers. We've already talked a little bit about this when we talked about A.D. Mitchell and the competition that he's going to have with Alec Pierce. It's really what we're looking for going into the season. Who's going to really be able to fill that number 2 role? Is Alec Pierce going to step up and be the guy that we've been hoping he could be, right? That vertical threat that can beat anybody downfield on a go ball. Can he learn to do more to put himself in that spot? Or will it be A.D. Mitchell, who can also stretch a defense, has 4.3 speed, and somebody who also has size? So when you look at A.D. Mitchell, everything that he's able to do could lend itself to be somebody who fills that number 2 spot. So as we look at it, obviously, Michael Pittman Jr. signed a 3-year, $70 million contract. He's our number one. Like, he's Michael Pittman Jr. That's our guy. So having Michael Pittman Jr. there, we know we're going to get with him. When we look at the slot position, Josh Downs pretty much a shoe-in to be the guy at the slot. Anthony Gould coming in behind him, obviously going to be mostly a returner, going to be a depth piece. We'll see if he has more of a Isaiah McKenzie type role, right? The backup slot last year was Isaiah McKenzie. He came in, had a little bit of a what we call a gadget, kind of one of those gadget guys on the offense. So we'll see if he takes on that same role Anthony Gould does. So that's going to be exciting to watch. I think he can be a really exciting addition to the team. But Josh Downs should maintain his starting spot, especially hearing throughout OTAs that Josh Downs looks really good coming into this year. He's obviously going to be more comfortable coming into his second season. So Josh Downs going to be a guy this year. So we already know those two, right? Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs locked in. It's behind that we're talking about. In my opinion, I think A.D. Mitchell probably ends up getting that spot at wide receiver, and Alec Pierce falls behind him. Now, at that point, what do you start to do? Because for the Colts, last year, most games they were taking 5 wide receivers, had 5 wide receivers on the active roster. And then if they wanted to take another one, they would pick up one off of the practice squad, bring him into the game, right? That was Juwan Winfrey for a couple games, and it would be in DJ Montgomery. And actually, I think last year we were going into games or had an active roster and had 4 wide receivers and would take one to games. So last year, the way the team was set up by the new coaching staff was different than what we had seen before. But coming into this year, it's once again going to be a little different because the emergency quarterback rule. I expect the Colts to go ahead, have that extra wide receiver. If there's anything on this team where they're going to decide to go ahead and carry that extra player because of the emergency quarterback situation, it's going to be the wide receivers. With how deep we are, you're going to want to take A.D. Mitchell. You're going to want to take Anthony Gould. You have Ashton Dulin coming off his injury, somebody who can play special teams. You're going to want him there. You're going to want Alec Pierce as a depth piece behind Pittman, Mitchell, and Downs. And that's where it gets difficult, right? We saw DJ Montgomery come in last year and be able to make some plays. Is he continuing to develop? Is he somebody that should stay on the team? Or is this somebody who's going to be relegated to practice squad pretty much all season? And then you look at Juwan Winfrey. That's somebody on this channel we talked about plenty last year. Somebody that has potential, right? Just like Mike Strawn did, right? Big guy, has the athletic profile you would hope for from a wide receiver, but was never able to develop into what we hoped he would. Juwan Winfrey, will he be able to do that? Who knows? He played a little bit of special teams last year, right? Again, with Ashton Dulin injured, and Ashton Dulin being a special teams guy, the Colts needed somebody to fill into that spot. There were some games Juwan Winfrey didn't go into every game with us, but he did go into some games. He did play on special teams, so we'll see if that's a role that they want to continue. Seems like he could be a guy that's definitely still going to be on the practice squad. At the bottom of this list, there's some interesting names, right? Like Ethan Fernier, is he a name? Maybe he stays on the practice squad. Jason Bean, I think, is somebody that has a lot of potential to end up on the practice squad because he has he was a quarterback in college, right? Played at Kansas in college at quarterback. but also somebody that they're slotting in a wide receiver, somebody that they think can just make plays with the ball in his hands. So I think Jason Bean making the team, being on the practice squad, that'd be something we see going forward. That's something that I would kind of expect to happen is Jason Bean making the team. Tyree Cleveland, who knows what's going to happen with him? If Jason Bean makes the team, then Tyree might be somebody that gets pushed out even from the practice squad. Xavier White coming in, somebody that I looked into a little bit when we were talking about undrafted free agents right after the draft. Somebody we looked into a little bit, somebody that I think has potential at wide receiver, right? If this is obviously somebody that was again undrafted, somebody we haven't heard of. So will he be able to develop? Can the Colts develop him into something that they can use? And at what point will they need to use an Xavier White? But I think it's somebody, if you're looking just to keep depth on the roster, on that practice squad, Xavier White, for what he can do, for what he brings as an explosive element to the offense, go ahead, keep him on the practice squad and see if you can develop him. That's what I'm thinking. So when you're talking about, practice squad, you're talking about active roster. The way I see this one shaking out is you're gonna have Pittman as the one. You're gonna have Mitchell on the right side of the offense. You're gonna have Josh Downs in the slot, and then behind them is where you get Ashton Doolin, Alec Pierce, and Anthony Gould. Okay, so that there is the active roster, in my opinion. I think every single week, 6 receivers going into games. Okay, then I think DJ Montgomery probably first man up from the practice squad. Jawan Winfrey coming in behind him. And again, we'll see what happens with Ethan Fournier. They could keep him on the practice squad, but I think Jason Bean and Xavier White are two guys that could definitely make the team. When you talk about going into the season, they start cutting guys. They're going to, part of it is going to be taken into account. Like, we got to cut out some of the fat that we know we're not going to need. Are you going to keep Ethan Fournier? I don't know what any of these guys are making, but are you going to keep one of these guys if they happen to be making more money than Jason Bean or Xavier White? Probably not. So we'll see what happens with Ethan Fournier and Tyree Cleveland. But that's really the competition on the practice squad is those two guys, and then Jason Bean and Xavier White. Who's going to end up making it? We're going to pay attention to everything. Okay, all these guys are on the team. We're going to pay attention to who makes it, who doesn't, because once we cut down to 53-man roster and a 16-man practice squad, those are the guys who we're going into battle with. We're going to need to know even who the practice squad guys are, just in case injuries happen and these young guys have to come in, get on the team. So we'll see what happens, but I feel like for this one, we kind of know what's going to happen. The only one we're really looking at from the starters, again, A.D. Mitchell, Alec Pierce, what's going to happen? You let me know your opinion of what the Colts should do with this. Who do you think is going to win this competition? You let me know down in the comment section, of course. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified anytime we put a video out here on this channel. Of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.